I think we'll probably should move on and go to Neal's presentation. Let's thank our speakers. Okay. Oh, hold on. They're waving at me. Do we have one more? Do we have one more?
No.
Okay.
Not so much. Yeah, a little bit, but then the bamboo.
Okay.
I did have one, it's more of a comment, but you might talk with Bill Nash, who's not raising his hand, because they're working with chestnut rootstocks doing tissue culture.
Yeah.
Because that way they can evaluate effectively the scion material, and he's doing a lot of work with that.
Yeah. And that's a good point. It'd be nice to have pawpaw on its own roots, and that's another discussion we can have later about that. Because some pawpaw has been able to be produced in tissue culture, but it's not been commercially real viable. But we can talk about that. But that's a good point. Yeah. Okay. So Neal Peterson is going to talk about a new cultivar. Neal.
Yeah, I'm back. Okay. I'm going to try, the tried and true old technology, which is, and I guess I'll use this thing here. I'll use this, okay. Because I like this over a laser pointer. It's just that new technology seems so alluring. Okay, so this I feel is ready to be released. I don't think it's been I know it hasn't been thoroughly tested, but I don't think I want to wait any longer. Okay. So this is another of our Rod's and my model of assigning river names to our pawpaws, which recognizes them as being Native North American, and also very closely tied to the culture of Native Americans. So I realize this is not a major river like the Mississippi, but is this a familiar river name? To some, but to many not, right? Okay, well, let's see, this is supposed to advance it, right? There we go. This is kind of, I'll show you geographically. Here. Okay, this is West Virginia. I combined two slides together to make this slide. This yellow area is the watershed of the Kanawha River. And this portion, which starts where its headwaters are in North Carolina, and it crosses the Blue Ridge Mountains to go to the Mississippi River. But this portion is the new river. The Gauley River comes down here, meets them, and then we assign a new name to it. But I think it's the same river. And this is the dark blue is the Kanawha River. But this follows an ancient river that was here before the ice ages arrived. So we're going back about 2 million years. This river is the Taze River. It's located there on the map, but it's extinct because when the glaciers came down from the north, they obliterated the river. They came all the way down to here, down to almost Cincinnati and so forth, and they overwhelmed it, and the river found a new course, which is now the Ohio River. And it used to run, that's where I grew up in the town of St. Albans, right at that point. And before the ice ages, the Taze River ran through there, and it ran up to Chillicothe and almost to Columbus and across. Interesting. Enough geography, right? Okay. So years ago, I got started in my work. I was going to breed for fruit, and we know that made good progress on fruit breeding. And I'm not going to read that, what you can read for yourself there. Had to do this on my own, but it was invaluable help I received from universities, first from the University of Maryland and now from West Virginia University, by the provision of land and some maintenance resources and such. And that's why I put a heart there. Let's see if that's going to go ahead. There we go. So that was My first interest was in the fruit to select for improved fruit qualities. Some fruit, if you are a forager or just widely experienced, you know that there can be bitter aftertaste in pawpaw. Some of them are so bad, they're just something you spit out when you taste them. There can be a kerosene taste in some of the wild fruit. Probably that's not very common, but I've experienced it. Okay, so Rod and I have released over the years, starting in 2004, we've released 7 varieties. But from the beginning, as I do my library research, hang on a second. My pants are falling down. I knew about other species which are referred to as dwarf pawpaws, well, because they're much shorter than triloba. And with the exception of probably parviflora, which grows along the Atlantic coast, coastal plain, the Gulf coastal plain, they're all growing in Florida. The flowers can be beautiful, as you see here in the picture. They have these interesting traits of being small, so it might be possible through generations of breeding to have a smaller stature pawpaw. The pawpaw is not a big tree anyways, but it will grow up to 20 or more feet tall, which can be difficult for picking and orchard management. The problem is, as I pointed out, the major problem is those southern species are tender. They're just not hardy north of southern Georgia. Oh, I hit the wrong, well, why not? That's the slide again, now advancing. Dr. Norman, I made the acquaintance of Dr. Norman. She sent me pollen of she's in Florida. She sent me pollen from reticulata and some other species. The pollen crossed very easily onto triloba. This is kind of a wonderful thing about the genus, is it has very few barriers in cross-pollination. And the first generation of hybrids were all hardy in Maryland and West Virginia, that latitude. Subsequent, as the genes reassort in subsequent generations, the tenderness genes start to show. So like in the second generation, 25% of the seedlings couldn't survive our winters. Now here I'm embarrassed. Where among my records in the basement are the notes about what trees I chose in orchard number 1 to put the reticulata pollen on. I do remember one detail I did. I'd already pretty much identified about 10 or so, maybe a dozen specimens that were looking really good. But when I pollinated, I thought, well, just in the interest of maintaining a little more genetic variety, and I don't think I would do it today, what I did then, but I took the sister tree next to the really good-looking one. Okay, so it had good genes and it looked pretty favorable, but I didn't actually use like Wabash or Rappahannock as a mother tree. Okay. But so this was out at the Y, which is orchard number 1, and I can't lean against that. It's on wheels. I'll move over here. So there were 12 F1 hybrids that were grown. They were all hardy. They were intermediate in size and in leaf size. The flowers were all dark maroon, just like triloba, whereas the pollen is from white-flowered species. So you begin to get a sense of what genes are dominant and which are recessive. And then I crossed number 1. I just numbered these specimens. So the specimen number 1 was crossed with specimen number 4, which gave me a total of 200 and some F2 seedlings, which I grew in Northern Virginia. And then I evaluated those for about 7 years, I think, and maybe 5. And there were some, so I took out of about the 200 and some, there were about 10 that struck me as exceptional. And I made those crosses. There was A136 and A2, 2 different specimens. And I crossed them. And then those are growing on the property of West Virginia University at Experiment Station. Rod and I have about 400 specimens out there. There's not many good. This is the nature of breeding. You grow hundreds, possibly thousands if you can, specimens to evaluate and find something of excellence. This is the most interesting specimen we have out of 400. What's striking about it, one, is the stature is not as tall. It's a single trunk. Many of the specimens in the 3rd generation still are showing tenderness problems. Some die back in the winter, a lot of resprouting. This one did none of that. You can see that the leaves are a little smaller. The flowers are very much bigger. That is standard Asimina triloba there. And in the vase of, oops, that was an accident. I'm trying to get it to go back. It's not going back? Well, I'm doing it at the top. There, oops, it did it twice. Okay, I'll just set this down. Okay. So that's the flower of the specimen, which we're calling Kanawha, okay? There is above in a vase, and this is a standard triloba flower and in the vase. So you can see the difference there. And I do not claim that the fruit quality is superior to anything else we've ever done, but I'll show you the pictures. But it's acceptable. It's pretty good. Okay, so that's pretty standard fruit size. Here on the scale, it's 314 grams. They seldom get much bigger than what you see in my hands there. So it's a medium size, which many times is a good size for eating. This is a table that shows basically what you're seeing with the red circles is the seed weight to fruit weight ratio, which I think in my work I'm putting kind of 8% as a cutoff. The very best may go down to 4% or even 3% sometimes. Wild fruit, for comparison, is often 15% seed, even up to 25% seed. So it's good to get a whole lot more flesh into the fruit, which the ratio represents. The seed size is very typical of triloba, by the way. And then Brix is a laboratory measurement of the percentage of soluble solids in the juice. And most of the soluble solids in fruit juice is sugar. So they use this as a repeatable measurement of sugar content in fruits. And 24%, 23% is high, getting comparable to grapes, for wine grapes. And then the year later, it was down to 20%. This also illustrates the fact that due to weather conditions, usually it's weather, there will be some variation from year to year. When you're taking your measurements, a single year's measurements are not representative of whatever tree you're examining. But that's good. And we thought the texture was good, the aftertaste was good. That's my talk. I grew up in St. Albans on the Kanawha River. And that's the end of my talk. I questions if there are some. Bob?
Hello.
Say what? Yeah, they're going to pronounce it all sorts of ways. It's Kanawha. Yeah, and so some people down in the hills, right where I grew up, it's like 2 syllables, Kanawha. But it's more technically 3 syllables, Kanawha. And people who don't know a thing about it see that word and Kanawha. Well, people are going to pronounce it the way they want to pronounce it. People are going to pronounce this the way they want to pronounce it. People have never seen the word before, say Kanawha. Well, people will do what they want to do. I'm not going to complain about it.
Oh, I have the microphone over here. Sorry. Way over here. Oh.
Will it keep lower? We don't have the answer yet. We have propagated another rootstock, and of course that's our hope. But that's a mature size in that picture, because that was planted in 2014 and grew to that size.
Over here. How big was the original fruit from that reticulata?
What I received was pollen.
Oh, so you don't know how large?
But those Florida pawpaws, the fruits are about much smaller than a plum. Mm-hmm. They're just about 3 inches long.
Okay.
And the percentage of, first of all, the flavor of those is barely edible. It's edible, insipid. It doesn't make you want to go taste another one. It's mostly seed in those.
Oh, I know. I've eaten a lot of them.
Okay.
So you have no information about that plant that it came from?
No, it was in Levy County, Florida, but the species reticulata grows from Miami north to Gainesville and maybe even a little further north. So it's most of Florida. We don't know. I mean, if we had an explorer down in Florida who was motivated and passionate, they'd go out in the woods and well, it's not so much in the woods as in the pastures and the undergrowth, and maybe we could find some better mother material.
Yeah, thanks.
We probably have to go on with the talk. Is that right?
Yeah, I think we'll do this one, and then we'll move on to this talk, and then we'll open it up for questions for both of us again. Oh, is there one more question? Yeah.
I had a quick question, Neal. Yeah. Super quick. Thank you for the talk. Can you talk, if you have the information, do you have any guidance on production potential, susceptibility to diseases, and hardiness, please?
It's not highly productive. I would say medium. The fruit is medium size, as you saw. And what else was the question? Diseases? I don't see any. It doesn't seem more susceptible. It just seems typical in all regards. It's like the Phylosticta and those diseases. Hardiness. It's perfectly hardy where we are at the latitude of Harper's Ferry, West Virginia, which is just like Baltimore. But Baltimore is more near the ocean. It's a little warmer than we are.
Real quick, with the reticulata genes, I'm in northern Louisiana. It's very difficult to find a cultivar that doesn't get sun scalded. Very tough environment to grow in.
Oh.
Would you say this would be an ideal with the reticulata?
That has to be tested.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Maybe it's a little more.
A little more hardy for that environment, I would imagine.
Maybe it takes the sun better.
Okay. Be interesting. Thanks.
Great. Well, let's thank Neal.